Hands up if you have been to an all-inclusive resort at some point during your life. Is your hand above the bar there? Can't quite see whether you're waving or drowning. Anyway, I have been to quite a lot of all-inclusive resorts down the years, predominantly the Caribbean. However, one of the areas of the world that has been booming when it comes to beach holidays is the Middle East. Guaranteed sunshine most of the year, very safe, very friendly, very family friendly. Dubai quickly carved itself out as one of the leading destinations in the region, certainly when it comes to hotels and restaurants and lots of amenities and fun things to do. We've been to Dubai. The first time I went to Dubai, I wasn't overly keen on it, but it's grown on me, and I do quite like it actually as a place to go for some sunshine and a few nights away. Can't go wrong, really. We've not been to Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi has also been developing a reputation for high-end hotels and tourism. We planned to go to Abu Dhabi, but British Airways cancelled the flight, cancelled the holiday, full stop. So unfortunately, we didn't get over there. The other place we have been is Qatar, Doha. The point is that all inclusives in the Middle East are quite rare. As you see scrolling through here, there are not a huge amount of all inclusive options. So for me, looking at the current prices in the tourism industry, the Caribbean is insanely expensive. They're ratcheting up. You get the likes of the Maldives or I don't know the Seychelles, and that's just crazy money that I couldn't afford without selling a kidney or maybe both of them. Now there are a handful of all-inclusive options in the UAE. However, two of them you can see here, the most price competitive, are in Marjan Island, which are based in Ras Al Khaimah, which is the most northern state within the United Arab Emirates. We stayed in the Doubletree by Hilton for a week, which was very pleasant. And now I'm going to give you my review of the hotel. Quick disclaimer, this is an edited version. I did upload a previous longer version that I wasn't overly happy with. I was having major difficulties with my stupid computer. The clips were taking way too long, and the timers. Anyway, I won't bore you with that. There was also a lot of guff in it. I think I blabbered on a bit too much. I need to cut it down because, judging from the watch time, I think people were bored and switching off, as they whether they do that where I make a long video or a short video. Also, I think the introduction wasn't the best, and I didn't give the right amount of context, and I led with the wrong angle. So anyway, let's wipe the slate clean and join me as I give you the insight into what to expect from an all inclusive resort in the UAE. If you are planning on coming to Ras Al Khaimah, then you will not be able to fly directly from London, as you can see from this route map. The Emirate does have an international airport, and it does serve mainly Eastern Europe and India and a couple of other Middle Eastern destinations. But you are more than likely going to have to fly into Dubai, as we did. Before you go and book expensive taxis, it's worth noting that Hilton does do a complimentary shuttle service between the airport and its two sister hotels, the Doubletree and the Hampton. The hotel recommends you call ahead 5 days in advance to confirm. I did, and it was no problem at all. In terms of the driver, there will be someone more likely a man, holding a sign with both Hampton and Doubletree on it. So keep an eye out for that because it might be easy to miss. And if you call the hotel, they'll usually tell you what colour top the person will be wearing. Once all the passengers have their stuff safely, you will be herded onto a shuttle bus, and it's about an hour or so drive. If, like us, you arrive in the morning, your check in is only going to be partial, isn't it? They'll get you all signed up, but of course, your room's not going to be ready, so you're going to be at a bit of a loose end. The very first thing you will want to do once you've checked in is go to the lifts directly opposite the reception. Go up to the ninth floor, you turn out, you turn left, and then we turn right. And there's right by there is the sauna spa section. And this is where you're going to get that all crucial shower and other things you might need to do. The changing rooms were bizarrely quiet. I'm not complaining about that. But as you can see from the footage, it's all very clean. It's very spacious. There's a couple of cubicles for showers. There's a couple of cubicles for toilets. There's a couple of quiet cubicles as well. If you do, it's worth pointing out though. Make sure you don't just bring a bikini or a mankini or something, because the all-inclusive package or your package, we'll come to that later. Pardon the pun. Package in the mankini begins at lunchtime, and so you will be able to have lunch. However, they have a dress code there, so yeah, turning up in some budgie smugglers is not going to get you any gold stars with the resort, and most possibly the authorities. The hotel has 4 levels of packages, starting with the most basic one, which is breakfast. Yes, breakfast in the buffet restaurant, and that's pretty much it. I believe that other drinks and snacks and everything else you have to pay for. Their next level up is half board. That includes breakfast and dinner in the buffet restaurant, but I don't think, again, any drinks are included. All-inclusive option. This gives you breakfast, lunch, and dinner in the buffet, but also 25% off if you go to any of the a la carte restaurants on the resort. The all-inclusive option also opens up the door to unlimited drinks. Yes, water, soft drinks, tea, coffee, alcoholic beverages. Nothing too exciting in terms of the booze. You know, you get cans of Beck's and Lovenbrow were the only options, alongside house wines and house spirits. The wines are actually fine. Couldn't really complain too much. The spirits I only had in cocktails, and yeah, that was maybe not the best cocktails I've ever had. Of course, despite its title, the all-inclusive option isn't all-inclusive. There's another even higher echelon of ultra all-inclusive. This gives you, rather than the buffet, this gives you unlimited access to the other restaurants. Not all of them are open for lunch, but most of them are open for dinner. It also gives you a premium. I say premium as I'm not really sure that Gordon's or Beefeater Gin are a premium gin. That's just my opinion. I've put the side by side to give you the differences in the alcoholic options. Looking back, I would probably go for the ultra all inclusive. The buffet was good, and we'll come to that. But having a bit more variety, and I think going to some of the one of the restaurants at least, it had a nicer feel to it. But we'll skip on to that in a little bit. Ensuring you have drinks included in the package, however, is going to be important to saving you an absolute arm and a leg. Because as you can see here, a soft drink is going to cost you the equivalent of about £3.70 and a cocktail £10. So if you are planning on consuming lots of alcohol or drinking lots of soft drinks or water, which you probably should do in the hot weather, it will soon rack up. If you are traveling with a family, there's a couple of extra things you should know. Is they do have some perks, so some discounts for kids 18 and under. They get to stay for free, and children up to 5 can eat for free. And between 6 and 12 gets half price. So that saves you some money if you've got your little munchkins, those little brats running around. No, they're cherubs. They're cherubs, really. And last, but by all means least, infuriatingly, because it has different tiers of packages, you have the dreaded wristbands. Generally, we've been fairly lucky in going to resorts without wristbands. I think we've only been to maybe 2 at the most, and those were paper ones. But good lord, these were sort of cloth ones, and they had a really tight band on it, and it was impossible to get off. Maybe then pack some nail scissors to chop the little blighters off on the last day. Otherwise, you're going to probably have to wait till you get home, like we did, to remove them finally. Righty ho, so we've freshened up, we've had a spot of lunch, we've got a little bit of sunshine. Now it's time to go to the room. Actually, there's a ton of rooms here. We actually stayed in the King Bay Club View room. This was to the far left of the resort. Now, the hotel is ginormous, but fear not, you do not have to lug all your heavy bags in the blistering heat because you have one of these fun things to ride on. Yes, if you're not in the main building, the concierge will load up all your luggage onto the buggy, plop you in there, and take you on a little jaunt around to your hotel room. Our driver pointed out most of the landmarks as we went along, including the nightclub, but that was closed indefinitely. I think I'm not sure. Some of the shops, the pools, and so on. We had a slightly unfortunate run in clashing with the cleaners. When I say clashing, I don't mean physically or verbally clashing, just getting back to the room while they were in it cleaning. I think I'm cursed. Everywhere I go, I always have to go back to the room and the cleaner, no matter what time of day. I've even done it at breakfast. Anyway, forget it. Forget it. Let's move on. Our room was on the second floor, and generally speaking, this part of the resort was fairly quiet. Well, I'll come to a little bit of noise in a bit, but it was quite secluded, quite quiet, quite peaceful, and we were here in room 4429. Now, I have to say, the room is really nice. One of the nicest rooms, yeah, one of the nicest rooms we've been in terms of a resort, which is nice and spacious. Has a balcony, although it's a little bit annoying because there's a massive tree, so I see a little bit of the sea, but not quite enough. Anyway, let's have a quick look around the room. So here's the bathroom. Now, I had a great bathroom in Athens over Christmas, but this one is another level. Fantastic toilet bidet. Didn't use a bidet. Don't understand what it does, to be honest. The sink. You had the shower, obviously the standish, and then you had the waterfall shower over it, and a massive bath, which never actually used. The only gripe I had was that there was some issues with the water. It would go hot, it would go scaldingly hot, and then freezing cold, and then go temperate again. I'm not going to put that as a massive gripe because I've been having that in quite a few hotels I've been at in recent years. So outside of the bathroom, it's pretty much what you expect. Plenty of wardrobe space. So there was enough space to put your clothes. I'd say at least a week's worth, maybe more if you pack strategically. There's also the drawers by the bed. So great for keeping the smalls in or other important things. The all-inclusive option doesn't include a minibar, but it includes a fridge. And while it was by no means the coldest of fridges you could find, you can easily put some beers in there and some water and the like to get them slightly chilled. The king size bed was very pleasant and importantly very firm. Gotta have a firm bed. I do like a firm bed. There is also the living section over there with a little bit of sofa and table and stuff. Kind of, we just ended up as a laundry room, but a good space to have nonetheless. There were some small details in this room that I really liked. Mirrored window on the door, just nice and practical. Practical. The air conditioning came off and on automatically when you opened the back door and when you closed it. Again, pretty good for saving the planet. Coffee machine. This is hit and mix. It kind of you have a coffee machine, yet you have cups that can't fit into the coffee machine, so you have to sort of slightly dismantle the coffee machine. But a great room, despite the tree blocking most of the view. Okay, let's get out the room now and examine one of the biggest draws, the beach. Yes, this hotel has a fabulous beach, I think almost a kilometre. So it can accommodate a heck of a lot of tourists like me. And please do let me know in the comments below what you think about my audition for the reboot of Baywatch. And remember, this is a safe space, so no mean words. You also have some various fun activity for the kiddies in the sea, some little slides and swings and like that. So bring along some inflatables if you do have those little ones so they can enjoy themselves. If you are a sun worshipper, obviously make sure you wear suntan lotion and hats and all that boring health and safety stuff. There's health and safety gone mad. But in terms of the sun, we're here in April and it sort of comes up here, goes around like that towards the hotel and dips there. So the best spot usually is that side of the beach. You're going to get the sun all day long. The sea is quite pleasant, so that's all fine, looks nice and safe. Turquoisey waters, not quite the azure you may think. In comparison, here is some footage I took when I was in Jamaica back in 2017. This was not with a very good camera whatsoever, but you can see the water is crystal clear. Well, not quite crystal clear, but very clear. And actually, I'll just throw in a couple more from the Grenadines, which is probably the best place we've ever been for crystal clear waters. And those definitely were crystal clear. And I just heard back from the Baywatch reboot and I haven't got the gig. However, there is still an opening for the next James Bond. I'll let you decide whether you want to lobby for me. Although, full disclaimer, this was obviously more than 11 years ago, so I'm not the youthful young buck that you see in these pictures. And in the interest of fairness, I have to also mention the Bahamas because the water there was absolutely stunning, as you can see from these pictures. I can't quite decide which one I think is the best, but let me know where you've been with particularly lovely, pristine waters. The sea does look nice and calm and quite clear, at least to the naked eye. But I'm not quite sure whether it's the type of sand they use or something. But it gets very disturbed, like a lot of us disturbed. But as you walk in, a lot of the sand starts whipping up, as it were, and gets quite murky. So yeah, it's not quite what you would expect, to be honest. This middle section is where all the water sports action takes place. If that's your kind of kink, I'm not really into that sort of stuff, but it seemed like people that weren't having fun. You could do the jet skis ride. They kind of did power boats, I think, but they mocked them up as sports cars, which was a little bit tacky, but quite fun. There's also the children's player around here, and the weird jet flying things. I'm not quite sure what they're called. Never fancied it myself, but there were a lot of people there, seemed to be having fun. So I'm not going to be a miserly, miserable old man and deny them their frolics. So it'd be a bit odd that they have those sailboats as well. As you see, green flag, so all nice and safe. And we're coming. So this is the kiddie section. So there's the slide and jamboree stuff out there. So a nice little walkway, all pretty safe. There were actually a lot of inflatables around, and even this touches my heart because I'm from Western Supermare, as some people may know. There was some people building sandcastles, so I thought it was a nice little callback to my childhood days of building sandcastles on Western Supermare Beach and indeed Weymouth Beach, because people were doing it here. Now the circle completes. That's all well and good, but I know some of you are going to say, Tones, what's going on? I hate the beach. I hate the beach. Understandable, because for me, I do quite like the beach, but I have this really weird OCD thing where if I go into the water and I get all the sand caked on my foot, and it really, really makes me feel really icky and weird, and I don't know why. So if, like me, you sometimes prefer an alternative, let's check out the swimming pools on this facility. The hotel has 5 swimming pools. 2 of them I didn't, or 3 of them I didn't go anywhere near, which was the family pool and the children's pool. That's over to the right-hand side of the hotel. There is also an indoor pool, which I didn't actually know where it was, but for some reason it has an indoor pool. So didn't go there either. So first one is the infinity pool. Now, don't get too excited. When I think of infinity pools, I think of very gentle, tranquil, lazy pools where I'm looking out over the ocean. No, luckily the footage here is early on, but this actually became a de facto kiddies pool because anytime I walk past it was just tons of children throwing balls and jumping around. So don't expect some kind of spa adults only type experience if you hang around the infinity pool. And I just noticed there is another swimming pool over to the right. No idea what that is, so we can skip that and go straight on to the main pool. Yes, this is the pool pretty much straight outside the main entrance as you come out of the lobby. It is a 16 plus pool. Yeah, I'm not saying that was particularly rigorously policed, as I'm sure we saw some kiddies in there who may have been under 16 years old, but generally speaking, there was next to no little ones, the little ones that make the noise and cause problems and spill things and all that stuff. But yeah, so really good option. I didn't really have much of a problem in terms of finding a lounger, although I could imagine it may get fairly hectic at peak times. This pool was surprisingly deep. I'm not quite sure how deep it was, probably about 4'5" or something, but it was noticeably deeper than quite a lot of other swimming pools you find in hotels, which shouldn't be too much of an issue. I guess maybe that's part of the plan to keep the kiddies out, which is anyone under 4'5" who can't touch the bottom. Sorry, son or daughter, you're not coming in. And apologies again for yet another James Bond showreel audition tape, but it was important to me to at least show you that I was there, and this is all real and not make believe. For any of you that are slightly concerned about the rules and regulations, just to clarify again that it's all very relaxed. It's not a problem to have a beer or a cocktail on the bar. Oh, sorry, on the beach or by the pool. It's absolutely fine, no problem at all. There we go. Plenty of pools to cater for all your splashing requirements. Actually, talking about catering, perfect segue. Seamless, seamless. Let's talk about the food. As we were on the all inclusive package, that gave us breakfast, lunch, and dinner in the buffet restaurant. The buffet restaurant is super easy to find. It is in the middle of, well, not in the middle of reception, but as you come in the reception, the right hand side is the lobby desk where you check in. The left hand side is the lifts, and just beyond there on the left, before you get to the doors, is the restaurant itself. Now, the very first thing to know about the restaurant is that if you are going as a couple or you're over 16, they do have an adult section. We didn't actually know this till I think it was the second day, but that is an area towards, if you go to the back, it's at the back right hand side, 16 and over. A bit like the pool, there was a little bit of a grey area on who they let in, but generally speaking, there were no kiddies running around there. There is also a 16 plus section outside in the sunshine if you prefer al fresco dining. Who's al fresco? Never heard of him. Alfred Fresco. Oh, that's lame. Now, I always have a bit of a love hate relationship with buffets, as I like to call them. The love side is, hey, look, isn't it great? We have such a great variety of, there's plentiful, there's a bounty of different options to choose from. On the flip side, something that has always bugged me since I was a kid, it was indoctrinating me as a child, is not to waste food. As my mum would say, there are children starving in Africa. When I wouldn't finish my McCain microchips and egg, fried egg, obviously, because then you dip the McCain microchips into the egg. It's a kind of primitive eggs and soldiers. But I digress. The fair play to the hotel, they do have, and this is a shocking statistic. They have the material saying 30% of food in the UAE is wasted, is thrown away. 30%. I mean, that kind of gives you an impression of just how gluttonous, wasteful some people can be. So yeah, when it comes to a buffet, I always try and just eat the certain amount I need. Don't get fill your plate, feed your face, and then leave a ton of it and waste it. So anyway, that's enough of me preaching on about saving the planet through the medium of eating less at the buffet. In terms of the quality of the food, as you tend to expect in most Middle East countries, it's of a pretty decent standard. There is all your usual international fare, which was okay. Pizza, pasta, all that sort of stuff. I tended to avoid that because instead I would point out that some of the more either Middle Eastern, or I think quite a few of the cooks were from India, so I certainly recommend the curries were always good, and the various things like the hummus, and there was another red pepper hummus type thing that had a nice bit of spice to it. Forget that. Pita beds, flatbed. So if you are going to go, obviously the kiddies are probably just going to want pizza and chips, but do try some of the local cuisine, and you'll be suitably impressed, like me. And of course, breakfast, you do have the usual mixture of all the traditional Western stuff as well as Eastern and Indian. Lunch, a good spread of salads, and then of course if you're feeding a little bit, you can always go and get some dessert. There are usually a lot of cakes, a lot of sort of slightly sweeter stuff. I'm not saying I didn't treat myself, didn't participate, but yeah, it can certainly if you eat too much of that, you might have some problems lying on the beach the next day. Needless to say, it can get super crazy busy in there. So keep your wits about you because there are the little ones running around and and not really knowing that people have hot plates or hot food or soup. So don't unfortunately accidentally scold somebody if they bang into you and you lose a grip of the plate. So keep a firm grip on any bowls or anything hot so it doesn't cause any injury. One thing worth adding is that sometimes it does get so busy there's a queue to get in. So don't be afraid to go along to one of the bars, pick up a drink, a beer, gin and tonic wine, whatever you like, and take that into the restaurant with you. No problem whatsoever. The nice person at the door will ask you for your room number and they'll take you to your table and ask you what drinks you like, and no problem, they will bring it all to you. The one thing I will say about this as well, just building off the food incident, was that the amount of bottles you could see, plastic bottles. I mean, I don't know why. So we can't use plastic straws, but the sheer number of water bottles was just unbelievable. They gave you 4 bottles a day in your hotel room, which they replenished. But if you want to stay hydrated, you're going to start racking up a lot of empty bottles. I don't know why they can't do sort of water fountains or something like that, but hey ho, I'm not in charge. The hotel does have a selection of other restaurants. They have I think, Italian, French brasserie, Asian, Middle Eastern, and the pub. We went to the pub, the Anchor, so we gave that a go. You can actually drink in here. Just go in for drinks, not a problem at all. And unfortunately, I didn't know this till the penultimate day, but they got a really nice balcony out the back. So if you want a nice spot that's a bit quieter without the kids running around, so I mean, the beach bar does get a little bit intense. This seemed to be a bit of a quieter spot. And if you are on the ultra all inclusive, all these a la carte restaurants are included in the price. So if you are staying certainly at least 6, 7 nights or whatever and can go around each of them, I'd definitely recommend the ultra inclusive option. If, like us, you were the bog standard all inclusive, not really inclusive, is it? It's not inclusive. Then you get 25% off your bill. It's also worth noting that the beach bar and the pub were the only actual bars in the resort. I think they were the only bars I could find, at least. A lot of the other bars, which they call bars, are just shacks or sheds. So there's nowhere really to sit down and drink. It tends to be go up, go to the bar, take your drink, and sit back down. So these are the two places you'll want to go if you want to sort of sit down and have something that vaguely resembles a drink. When it comes to departure, I personally thought it was a mistake. So we were flying out at, was it 10 past midday? I think it was, and our pickup was 7 o'clock in the morning, which was actually too early for the breakfast buffet. And I went along and said, "Surely there's some mistake," but no. They first of all they also go and pick up guests from the Hampton, although there weren't any when we went, and they expect or they predict there'll be a lot of traffic, even though it wasn't really. So we ended up getting to the airport at least half an hour before we could even check in. To compensate the fact you can't get a buffet breakfast, they give you a breakfast bag, which was pretty unimpressive. There was sort of 4 pastries in there, a sandwich, concentrated orange juice, and water. I don't know why. It was too much food. Again, wasted food. It made more sense just to put a little small buffet selection out for departing guests. And indeed, they actually do put some little pastries out outside the buffet at various other points. I'm not quite sure why. Obviously, with free transfers, they are accommodating different people from different places, flying at different times. So expect to get something quite early if you are departing. If you want to stay a little bit later, a little bit longer, maybe think about booking a private transfer. All in all, I have to say I thoroughly enjoyed this hotel. The facilities were great. The room was great. The food was of a high standard, and it had a nice vibe to it. Yeah, okay, it's a big chain hotel, but having that nice long beach, having those different spots like the adults pool, was a good option for a lot of people, and competitively priced as well. And I'm looking at some of these Caribbean holidays now, and they charge like 7, 8, 9 grand, and that's like a sandals resort. So definitely think about looking towards this hotel or this area as a family friendly, all inclusive destination. I would certainly consider going back. However, if we went back, I would definitely do the ultra all inclusive option. That seemed to be by far the best way to enjoy everything and to get the most out of the facilities. For a few hundred extra quid, it's worth it.